Hello fellow woodworkers and welcome to this week's edition of the Garage Workshop. This week is the second part of my Mitre station rebuild. Today we're going to be making a new hood for the Mitre station. Roll the intro. So welcome to the second video in this series. If you haven't seen the first video, I'll put a link in the top corner for you to watch it. So as with last week, the first thing I did was disassemble the previous dust hood. I think I mentioned in last week's video, this was one of the first things that I put together when I made my Mitre station. And to be fair, it wasn't too bad actually. When I disassembled it, I found that the wood that I had, I was hoping I was going to be able to reuse some of it. Unfortunately, I couldn't reuse as much of it as I wanted. I did use some bits of it, as you'll see in the video, but the most important thing was to disassemble it and take it all apart, and then I could start again from scratch with the measurements. And one of the problems that I had with this in the first instance was it fitted inside the two levels on the Mitre station, and I didn't want that. I wanted one that was either outside of it or exactly level, which is what I got in the end. So when I took it apart, the next thing to do was to select some woods. And if you've seen my other videos, I've still got bits of this kitchen work tops and various units around. So it felt like a nice sturdy material, better than the plywood to use. So I started marking it up, got the right side, and luckily I was able to cut off some of the bits which were a bit rough. This units that I've got are brilliant, but some of the bits are rough and they've been sort of slightly changed to their original use. So they've got bits taken out of them, digs in them, all that sort of thing. So luckily with this, I was able to select the bits that I needed. I also wanted to cut a groove in to the side panels, which you'll see in a minute, because my current dust hood didn't have that and it sort of sat back a little bit too much. So when I'd cut the sides, I cut them just the right side to fit above the saw, and I just offered them up to make sure they're okay. That kept the dust hose, you can see there in a minute, that'll go through that unit. So I put them on, made sure I got exactly the right size, and then I was able to measure what the gap would be. So when I got them level, I gave them a good old measure. I did have to just slightly play around with that right hand side one. I think that actual bit of worktop it's on isn't level. I then popped in a little board for the back, which I wedged up to get it to the right size. And then I could start making the actual sort of support braces that were going in. Just one thing, apologies, throughout this video, you're going to see lots of blurred bits covering up my screen. And the reason obviously is I don't want anyone to have a copyright claim. I was watching Netflix. So when I did that, I was able to reuse one of the braces. This is the brace that was sort of the bottom part of the old dust hood. So I was able to trim that off, and then I'd set up a stop block so that I could get all of the pieces trimmed to exactly the same length. And then I just took off that sort of angled bit to get it nice and straight. Wouldn't be a garage workshop video, would it, without some slightly out of focus pocket holes. But I put in 3 because I wanted to maintain the rigidity, and these cross braces were going to be the thing that did that. So I went a bit mad on the pocket holes. I quite enjoy doing pocket holes anyway, to be honest with you. But I got all the bits pocket holed, and then I could work on, these were the sides that you just saw me clamp up, but I wanted to cut out a sort of angled bit, which was the same height as the maximum height of my Mitre saw. I think you'll see it a bit better than I'm explaining that. It took a couple of goes to sort of get these all around the right size and make sure I got the cuts in the right place. And I didn't want to do anything wrong because I didn't have any other wood if this had gone wrong. So when I got them, I got the exact angle there on the table saw, which is the depth of my cut. Then I took them over to the Mitre saw and I was able to cut out the sections, and you'll see a bit better now what I meant. After that, it was just a really simple case of laying one the right side round, getting that put in, the pocket hole bit, the back support. When I'd had the one fitted correctly, then I was able to put all the others in, and then I used a right angle just to make sure they were okay. But this wood is significantly thicker than the wood that was on there before. It was only a little bit of 18mm ply before, and obviously these offcuts from the kitchen units are a lot stronger than the plywood, and there's sort of no give in them at all really. So when I got the cross braces in, I then went on to cut the next bit, which was actually going to be the back of the unit. I wanted to make sure I got that exactly the right width. And again, this is just a bit of old board I had, MDF, lying around. So I wanted to get that there now, make sure it's the right fit before I then attach the rest, because obviously it would be a lot more difficult to attach this when the other side was being put in. So I actually chose on this occasion to drill and screw. I was going to brad nail it, but again, I wanted it to be as rigid as possible. So I went with the actual drilling in pocket hole, not pocket hole, sorry, pre-drilled all of them, and then I put them in. So when I did that, I offered up the side to make sure that they were exactly the right length. And at first I thought this was out because the two braces at the side, as you can see, fitted perfectly, but the brace at the back seemed like it was too long. But of course it wasn't too long, and as you can see there, it's just the fact that it had dropped down, which meant it didn't sort of fit properly. So when I put it up and had got all of the screws attached, it was absolutely the perfect size. Very pleased with how that turned out. And then obviously when I put the right angles on it, it was exactly level as well, which was really good. So when that was done, I fitted that cross brace. It's only from watching this video when I was making it that I realized it actually looks like it might be slightly out, but as you can see here, when I offered it up, it doesn't feel out at all. And I got it just the right size, so it just fitted on either side. And as you can see, there's not much gap there between the handle, the top of the handle on the mitre saw, but enough. When I did that, I then put this sheet back in. This is the one that you saw me drill earlier. So I got that back sheet put in, and it was amazing because it's only quite a flimsy piece of MDF, 6mm MDF, I think, but it made it really, really rigid. You can see my little hand, pleased about that. Now this is a little dust shield that will help direct the dust that hits the back of the hood sort of down. I hadn't planned on doing this when I designed this. It sort of came to me as I did it, and I thought, oh, it'd be really good. And I knew I had this piano hinge lying around. I thought, actually, that might really, really help. So I just attached it on an angle. I didn't attach it, I sort of left it flapping, if you see what I mean, just to make it easier to get it in and out if I take the dust hood off. Because the other thing I've done with this dust hood, which I didn't do with my other one, I have not attached this to the bench in any way. Before I had some brackets and I'd screwed it into the worktop, but I didn't want to do that. And I found there were quite a few times where I wanted to take the dust hood off, either to hoover or to get access behind it. And it was a right pain doing it. So this time I deliberately not done that. I had made this so it could be removed at any stage, which was really important to me. So I attached the piano hinge, as you can see there. They take quite a lot of screws, and it took me quite a while to find a screw that didn't sort of stick out too much. And in fact, I didn't manage to find that. So the ones that I attached at the back just sort of break through the surface of that back piece of wood. But as this is being pushed up against a wall, it didn't really matter, and I wasn't that bothered, to be honest. The most important thing was getting it on there and making sure that I had the correct movement. So after putting in what felt like 9,500 screws, obviously there weren't, I offered it up, and after a bit of finagling, you can see it fitted perfectly. I was really pleased with how it looks. There is a gap on the side, but I'm not too worried about that. Next was drilling the hole for the dust extraction pipe to go through. I've got this connected under to a hoover and a cyclone dust extractor. I put that on, all fitted really nicely. The next stage was to cut the piece of wood. You can see I've got the wood measured out there, and this was to go on the top of the unit. So I laid that piece of wood there was just to help me sort of prop this up. So I fitted it on. It was slightly out of shape, I'm not going to lie. I think the reason it was out of shape is because it's not a perfect square or perfect cube, the box that I've made, but I pre-drilled everything, I countersunk all the screws, and I put it on. And this is that piece of wood that I got on the top. I've mentioned this in numerous videos. on the top of some worktops that came. It's an offcut I bought from B&Q. I've nearly used it all now, which is a shame because it's absolutely fantastic. Hopefully I can pick another one up. So I attached it. It's also quite thick and helped it be even more rigid than it was before. And here is the finished Mitre saw station. As you can see, the dust shield is in place. It's actually turned out exactly as I thought it would. It's one of the best projects I've done for a while, actually. I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. And I also think that sitting on top my battery charger, gets it off the bench, and it looks like it sort of should be there. So very happy with how it turned out. As I said, the little bit at the back, the little angled piece of wood, I actually did that as I never planned to do that. I did it as I was making, so really pleased with that. I've got the full movement as well from my saw, which I didn't have before, and overall a really pleasing project. Thank you very much for joining me this week. I hope you enjoyed the two videos. If this is your first time at the Garage Workshop, please subscribe and hit the notification bell and check out my other videos. If you're a regular viewer, thank you very much, and don't forget to like and comment. See you all next week. Happy woodworking, everyone.